presence in 13 African countries, and we are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Welcome back again. If you have just joined us, we welcome you. We're still right here on Galaxy Universal Network, broadcasting live in the Republic of South Africa. If you have just joined us, we haven't missed much. And of course, you are now joining us on a very, very important moment on our green couch. We are now joined by, I will call her an intellect, you know. Received in the name of intellectuality, if there was such, you know, by Mrs. Nandi Ganda. She is, of course, a graduate from Wits University. She has studied linguistics and majoring in, just studied, of course, majored in linguistics and French. Oh, actually, I should have said this. Okay, don't worry. I'll pull this just very, very soon. And of course, she's a freelance journalist and an author, and just not above that, she's also a business owner. She's running her own business, which is based online, right, Sis Nandi? And also, what is mostly important, she has lived in France, of course, for the past years. Of course, she stays in France, working for the Department of Arts and Culture. So you could see that right now we are with a well-traveled woman, quite very much exposed, and over and above that, I must say that you are extremely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so
you know,
much.
when we talking about beauty and brains, we mean exactly that.
Thank you so much.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ça va, merci. Et toi?
Je suis très bien, merci.
Oh, you're finished now. Okay, good, don't worry. Let's just
be inclusive.
Let's just be a little bit inclusive.
Yes.
But nonetheless, bon anniversaire, Galaxy Universal Network.
Merci.
Thank you so much. Oh, anyway, I was saying welcome to Galaxy Universal Network. Yes. Sorry.
Merci beaucoup. Merci. Merci, madame.
Okay.
Well, welcome,
So-
Nandi. You know, I must say also, you know, just you are looking beautiful, and not only beautiful, but beauty with brains. I mean,
Thank
like
you.
all these things, you know, that you've achieved, and you're also a CEO of your very own company, a journalist by profession as well. You know, you've been all over the world. How do you do it?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me, ladies. I think with the compliments you've given me, I think I'm in a very good company. Just to watch you ladies work, taking up space, taking the time and having the confidence to really apply yourself, that's something that's always inspirational for me. So thanks to you. Just for clarification, yes, so I do run my own business and I do digital marketing. As you would know that now a lot of things have moved to being online.
Of course.
The very basis of why I studied French was also so that I was able to use whatever skills I had and take it beyond the border of South Africa. With the main premise being in Africa, knowing that Francophone Africa and South Africa still have a lot of potential for business to do.
Of course.
So I was very fortunate enough to start my career under the Department of Arts and Culture, where what we did was we had an opportunity to exhibit all of our arts and all of our business and educational systems in France, and they had a season to do that in South Africa. Finding the balance and taking charge and having opportunities presented to you is a very, very interesting, humbling journey.
Yeah.
There's many times that you think that you can't do something, but then realize that nothing has ever been done without someone just trying it for the first time and probably failing at it
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So I'm on a very interesting journey at the moment. Besides digital marketing and social media management, I've found that a lot of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, have issues and problems with structuring their businesses. You know, there's very basic and very common business requirements and business systems everybody needs, whether you are a huge corporate or whether you are, you know, been running for a couple of years or just getting started out. So very recently, I've been working very closely with this private equity and venture capital fund managers called Grovest. And it's very, so what's the word? It has been such a empowering journey because we are working on a webinar for Women's Day. But instead of just doing the usual pink washing or spotlighting one woman who miraculously made it through an industry that's male dominated, what we've decided to do is we've decided to question people within the industry, people who have power. What does Women's Day mean to an industry that is male dominated?
Yes.
And this has been something that I think the narrative needs to change. I've seen a lot on social media lately, a lot of the women saying, why are we celebrating Women's Day when there is no change? Why are we celebrating Women's Day when there's femicide? There's a chance and there's an opportunity and there needs to be a change and leadership from people who are in the position to make a difference. So I feel like that's something that would be a good way to pioneer a new thought, a new narrative for women independence, women equality, the gender lens investment. So that will be happening on the 27th of August. And if you follow me on my social media, you'll be able to understand exactly how to log in and how to register for the webinar.
We understand that, of course, you are also in partnership or running and with a business that also assist small businesses in funding. For an example, you will throw in 100,000 and also recoup that money back from SARS. Can you please elaborate on that?
So this is something
especially because I want the money.
Yes, exactly. as it should be, as it should be. That's what it's for. So this is something that is very interesting. I only found out about this very late. And I'm someone who's had a business for about 4 years now. I mean, my business had been incubated by Standard Bank. I've had opportunities to work with other big corporates from Mercedes-Benz to Audi, etc. But there is a legislation that was passed by, by the government under the National Tax Act. And that legislation is the Section 12J. Now, under the Section 12J, what they have said is that if you are a business or you are a high net worth individual, when you invest through a VCC, venture capital corporation, so you need a license for that. It's basically a fund. Think of it as a big company that can fund the small companies, basically what you're saying, the people who would be able to fund small businesses.
Yes.
If you are a VCC and you invest in small to medium-sized enterprises, you will receive a 100% tax deduction for the investment that you made that year.
Oh, wow.
So instead of having all of these people with large balance sheets who don't know where to invest their money in South Africa and choose to take their money offshore most of the time, this is an incentive to keep the money in South Africa and to invest it not just between them or, just to grow or scale their business, but to empower the very basis of medium-sized and small businesses. And that's something that I think has a big opportunity for women as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of statistics that say and show, actually not say, prove that women are better at running businesses.
Yes.
Women are more likely to reinvest whatever money they make back into their community.
The business, yes.
Women are most likely to invest in other women. I mean, quite personally, I found that has been one of the easiest ways to navigate. Most of the small businesses that I've been working with or collaborated on, if I've had to get a really nice, big, juicy contract, was other women. And it's because of the way in which it's the style of leadership that we have. We're natural leaders. We're not just necessarily, exactly. We're not just necessarily nurturers. Nurturing is a type of leadership. It's a type of empathy that allows for what's priority to be the first thing. So I think Section 12J is something that we need to look into.
Yes.
There is a clause, sunset clause in June next year that possibly Parliament might be ending this incentive. But I think that if we have a lot more young people, black people, women, and professionals investing in this kind of activity, then we could have a lot more of these beneficial policies passed in Parliament.
Oh, so I must quickly get the money before they shut it down?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Everything has to happen fast.
I also wanted to ask about, something when it comes to PR marketing.
Yes.
Would you, or rather, do you think that it's best to keep, to market your company on social media only, or maybe would you think maybe it would actually be best to hire a PR company to do all the work for you. But then now, when you go to PR companies, obviously you have to pay. And on social media, you know, it is free, and you know, you depend on reposting and all.
Yes.
What would you maybe say is the best way to market one's company?
I think that's a great question, because I started out by freelance writing. I moved into starting my own PR firm, and then moved into having a digital marketing and branding company. And I think what I've learned through that journey is that if you are really good at what you do in your business, be it a product or a service, it's on you to be the best at that. And if you're able to employ somebody to augment that and have them be the best at that, then that's the ideal situation. But of course, that's in a perfect world where you have all the money for budgeting, we have all the money for PR, and that's not necessarily the case. So what I would advise is understanding the platforms. So the platforms are made to make sure that people socialize. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they want you to be online as long as possible so that they can sell advertising. That's their business. Their business is eyeballs. So it's on you as a business owner to understand, does my product appeal to people who are in the casual setting of Facebook? Because people on Facebook are not sending their CV. They're announcing their engagements, they are sharing cooking recipes, for instance. Or is my business more suited for the lifestyle-driven space of Instagram? Because that's more of a business that has a aspirational market. It's more of it's more of a pretentious platform in all senses of the word. That it's a space for you to escape and to think and to find and to discover. And then the ultimate one, which I would say, regardless of what your business is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it has really skyrocketed in terms of its engagement and its reach, as well as the fact that it's more organic. Now, when you hear that something is organic, what you should think about is that the way in which people can meet or the engagement can be reached is that of a natural way, which means that the collaboration or the synergy would be stronger for your brand. So it's all about learning what each platform is made best for, not forgetting WhatsApp, by the way. WhatsApp is a very, very powerful social media platform.
Especially now we're having these group WhatsApp messages, so like everyone can be reached on our WhatsApp group.
Exactly.
If you're not on that WhatsApp group, they're like, hey.
You missed out.
You missed out. You know this WhatsApp group that we're having? I think this NPA WhatsApp group. It's also it's also very informative.
I find myself in many thinking. The other time I was in this WhatsApp group and I'm like, okay, good, save the number. Okay, nonetheless, let us now talk about your book. You know, if we could also have a look into that. It's a very fancy one, you know.
Thank you very much.
Jazz Epistles.
Yes.
What inspired you to write this book? And I must also say that your mother is an author as well.
Yes, she is.
So I mean, she's been on our green couch actually. She sat on that couch that you are also sitting on. Very interesting woman, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now this book, if we could also find out, like, did you draw your inspiration from your mom, or it was just, you know, a separate adventure for you? And please do tell us about these Jazz Epistles.
Well, certainly I do think that children will always do what their parents do, not what they say. So my mom has always been a writer and a journalist for a very long time. And that inspired me and sparked the passion and the love for reading, and the passion and the love for understanding the power of storytelling, and also the power of immortalizing a story through word in a book. So I was very fortunate enough to have the account for PR and marketing for the Jazz Epistles concert that had the 3 remaining Jazz Epistles members, except for one gentleman still in Sweden, the 3 remaining members to reunite after 60 years on stage. Now, the Jazz Epistles story has an incredible reference to how even though in circumstance when you are oppressed, which of course these men were, these band members were, through apartheid, through racism, even overseas, through the lack of opportunity, access to education, etc. But their love for jazz and their connection to their powerful gift made them rise above and beyond any kind of limitations. What's particularly interesting about these gentlemen is, as a jazz band, they are still to date the most influential bebop jazz band of all time in South Africa. When they went into exile after the country was put into a state of emergency, they were forced out, pushed out, and were overseas. Some went to America, some went to Europe. Already, without the internet, without Facebook, without YouTube, already they were known within the biggest jazz clubs because of their unique sound, their African flair, a deep... Yes, exactly. Sophia Town, Eastern Cape. Don't take me there. I wish I lived in a different time.
I can actually relate, because I also grew up, listening to these records and looking at, because my dad was a jazz lover as well, and my mom, and I remember on Sundays we would sit there, cook, and my mom, my dad would be cooking, and my dad was the one, playing all these records about Yuma Sikela, Abdullah Ibrahim,
Jonas Kwangwa.
About Jonas Kwangwa. So I can actually relate. I actually feel closer now.
I was about to say that, you wrote a book with about the three most influential South African musicians, and a lot of people didn't maybe even the now generation didn't really know that these were not just musicians, but they're freedom fighters. They were fighting freedom through their music. They went to exile not because they were holding doi, because they were singing songs that were against the apartheid. Exactly, they were ambassadors of South Africa. Did you get a chance to, because I know you mentioned earlier that you were part of another jazz event, the concert that also sparked that for you. Did you get a chance that you sit with maybe any of these guys before they passed away and tell them, guys, I am going to be penning this thing down?
And let me tell you, they're real superstars. There's nothing that they haven't done. There's nothing that they haven't seen. It was a very humbling and just such an amazing opportunity. I did get a chance to speak to them. I did get a chance to ask them questions. And, they also did have a chance to ask me, but where do you come from? You're such a young girl. What are you asking? What's going on? Who said that you were? Exactly, Which, of course, understanding how my parents are and grandparents are, I was welcoming with a warm heart. But yes, I did have the absolute honor and privilege. And this concert had at least two former presidents in the audience. It took the country by storm. And I wrote the book precisely because of that. I don't think a lot of people appreciate, a lot of young people appreciate that the power of their gift and the power of their influence and how refined they are. We're talking about people who have invented a certain kind of sound, a certain kind of style, a certain energy, a certain type of approach in music. In jazz music, one of the most respected groups of music in the world. I also studied music all the way through in high school.
Oh, wow.
And for me, that was, it's always lovely when you're in school, especially I was always the only black girl in a white school in my class. And when it came to jazz music, everybody had to recognize that the Africans, the African Americans, they were like, Nandi, do you want to take this one? Nandi, what do you think about this song? Interpret the song for us, So, that's always been something that has been uplifting.
Now let's get a little personal,
Yes.
When people look at this beautiful, intelligent woman, they sometimes, of course, they will be a little even scared to kind of approach you now. And I'm talking about now, guys. And I can see you've got a very big rock in your hand.
Oh, yes.
It could be two. nowadays we know it could be one of the two. It's either a stop nonsense to say, you know what, stay away, I don't want to talk, or a real wedding ring.
Yes.
Are you in or out of the market because I'm sure there are comments here and say, oh my God, she's so gorgeous. Can I get her numbers? But you know,
this is so uplifting. I'm so humbled. Thank you. Yes, I'm married, very happily married.
Sorry guys.
Yes,
I
with
love the
two
fact that
beautiful
you say
children.
very happily married.
Oh yes, oh yes, what a blessing it is to be married and to build a family. A lot of young people, I think, would have a lot more stability and have a lot better refined vision. I believe that if they were married, just to finish my sentence, I believe that there's a lot of things in life that I want to achieve still. You know, sometimes it's a sad thing to have something like black tax that we have to deal with being the first. But my husband and I have a very refined vision for the level of success and opening doors and shattering barriers that we have to achieve, that we look forward to a new level of black tax. So
Okay.
yes. So yes, I'm married and with a family. Yes.
You know, I was saying that your mom, the last time when she was here, you know, with our interviews, we got to learn that your mom believes in polygamy. So I just want to find out, you know,
are you in for the game?
You know? And she was really, you know, trying to convince us and telling us that, you know,
are you in for the game?
You know, she actually convinced us that there's really nothing wrong with polygamy. And I remember Sisanda and I were looking, thinking, this woman, lo mama lo. But then now you hear, you know, all looking also successful, professional, and so young. And I want to understand, what is your stance, you know,
on polygamy?
About, yes.
I do believe polygamy has a time and a place. It has a purpose. And I believe people have the choice to decide what works for them. So if you're asking if I would like to have a polygamous relationship, the answer is no.
Okay, I was just waiting for that.
But I respect it and I understand the value of it. In fact, many times, it's an argument I've had many times, of course, because I understand the broader picture, but how much of an independent woman do you have to be to know that when you marry a man, that's not your all and everything? That you're enough of a woman, you're enough of a mother, you're enough of your own person in society, that when you choose to marry someone who you admire, you're able to share that person. You're not obsessed with possessing the person. And that's a big failure in love marriages. And it's something we must look across all society, in China, the East, in Jerusalem, in, you know, the ancient Bible times. This is something that has worked. So I think, you know, just be open-minded, but know what you want always. And don't try and own somebody. It's never gonna. Yes, exactly.
I mean, taking it from you, I would like us maybe to go a little bit into. Sorry, we'll keep you a little longer. The show was supposed to be. We're supposed to have you for 30 minutes, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just keep the show going on because it's quite very important. I mean, a whole lot of young women in our days, they find beauty being in, you know, nudity, especially. And they find intelligence being how much of, you know, tangible things, material you have. Now, I mean, sitting here, I've only met you for, let's say, less than an hour already. But in my mind, I'm finding this very intelligent, beautiful woman. And I think you very you're inspiring, not just by what you look, but what you say. One can understand that you try to also help other people and grow other people, especially women. What would be your words that you would maybe want to share with young women to say, listen, you could still be beautiful, intelligent without you having to go naked on social media or wherever and still sell your craft and still be intelligent?
Exactly. I think one thing that we need to help young women and young men understand is that attention doesn't necessarily mean power. So there's this understanding that when you have power, you have access to money, or when you have lots of money, you have access to power. They go hand in hand, which is probably one of the reasons why corruption occurs, but that's for another show. But when you try to seek, you find people who have power trying to seek money, and people who have money trying to seek power. And it seems as though on this new platform, which is a visual platform, women try to seek power an attention and influence by using their bodies, because that's what on a visual platform will get a lot of attention. But I think it's also a lack of direction. For me, I want attention for the right things in my life and for the things in my life that won't fade. So that's something that I was taught and brought up with very young from both my mother and my father, that said that you're a beautiful girl, you can have beautiful things, but you need to understand in life that these things can and will fade away. And there are more important things that are more fulfilling and more sustainable. So it's not even necessarily about agreeing to say, oh, because you're a Christian or you are Muslim, or because your grandmother doesn't think it's worthy for you to dress like this. It's a lot more deeper to say, but where are you going? Yes, you're ambitious. Yes, you're slaying. Yes, your lashes are on fleek. But where you going, boo? What is that gonna get you? And understand that I just turned 30 this year, for instance.
Oh wow!
So and understand that and understand that every single day there's another beautiful young girl turning 21. You know, it's unsustainable, and I think that women need to understand how to balance it. Yes, there is power in being a woman. Yes, there's power in being sensual, but it's about understanding where and when to place it. For instance, the reason why Chanel, the designer, a woman, she had a lot of people critique her designs because a lot of it was a lot more conservative. But the people at the top, the upper echelon, they decided, or they recognized that this was another level of elegance.
Of course.
Because they had seen it all, done it all. There's not enough champagne that they could drink. There's not a place that they couldn't visit. There's not anything they couldn't buy. But having access and recognizing a brand that enticed you in a way that allowed the person to not have to go out of their way and still have you attracted to them in a less asserted way is something that is so classy and sophisticated that we should try and emulate and find a way to understand that power, that it needs to be, let's say it's a long dress, but maybe it's a bit tight fitted, but it's all long sleeve and long dress. That's still very elegant. So it's about understanding the power of being a woman and understanding that power, the sexual power or the imagery of a naked power is not something that will last.
You know,
I'm
you just touched on
already. I mean, like you just said you're 30. I know I'm like a decade older than you, but I must say, you know, yeah, only, you know.
only.
I'm very inspired.
Yeah,
So,
you just spoke of, you know, how your parents have, you know, had a lot of impact in your life in terms of teaching you that, you know, having all these things, it's not meaning that you have got power to do other things. Now, I mean, you married also to one very powerful person that a lot of people, if you say, oh no, you're married to Tibotash, we have never, you know, even seen too many things of you and him. Some people, I'm sure, if it was another girl, I'd be like posting every day, me and my husband, hashtag, you know. But yet, here you are, you just in your lane doing your things, and you know, you're pushing your own brand and everything. But then, how do you then also balance this life? Of course, you are a great family. Also, you know, a family of greatness, of great people that are working hard, doing great things. I mean, even your husband is doing a lot of things in empowering young people as well, and so you are doing the same thing as well. How do you guys balance all this together?
I think it's about keeping first things first, putting God first always, and admiring each other from your own space. You know, he's my best friend. I admire him. I'm in love with him. I think he's an incredible person. I'm inspired by him. And for me, I feel as though, you know, when you have someone that you're impressed by, you want to impress them in your own way. And I think it's about, you know, I don't know, I don't have any, no one has the formula, right? Otherwise that person would have sold out and they'd be living on a yacht. But, you know, I think it's about having your priorities straight and respect straight and understanding your roles and understanding why you're in the spotlight if you're famous, you know. I'm not famous. You know,
He
Thabo was
is.
famous,
Yeah.
exactly. So, you know, so I'm not going to try and be in his space. The same way, if I'm, you know, doing a business that requires French, he's not going to try and start learning how to speak French so he can be part of my business. But it's about the complementing. You want to meet in the middle with someone. You know, it's about building with someone. It's not about trying to be the same or trying to latch on or trying to control or own. That can never be. Only God can control and lead. So that's about understanding
And how
that. Yeah.
do you deal, you know, with all the fans when you are with your husband that are always coming around and asking for pictures, and you know that they'll probably push you aside.
I totally understand. I'm like, I love this guy too, you know. I'm always the first one to tell you want a photo? Yes. Okay, for sure, yeah. Because no, I totally understand the context. And I'm not bothered because I'm not in competition.
Yes.
You know, I know what I want, I know who I am, and I know what our relationship is, what our goals are. Everything else, ladies, everything else is white noise.
Nah,
Everything else is besides the point,
like
because
that.
even if you're working at, let's say, Pick and Pay, you're the mid-manager, or you're at the tills working, I promise you, at Pick and Pay, there's somebody who's looking at your husband as well at his job. For instance, you know, it doesn't matter what level of society you are. If you are, you know, if your husband is working in, you know, very high top senior executive, let's say accounting firm, believe me, he has a fan as well who's trying to get a picture with him as, you know, just as well, you know.
Of course.
So it's just about understanding those dynamics. They're universal. And not unique. Nothing is no marriage problem, no relationship problem is unique. You know,
It's the same same thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Now let's cross now to France. Tell us about your experience when you were in France. I mean, everybody knows France is the place of love. You know, everything. You know, you know. So tell us your experience. How it's been like. Did you enjoy being in France? Is it a place that you would want to stay there for a year? And I was like, no, I'm going back home.
Yes.
So, how it's
Interestingly enough, I did experience the same thing where at first it was very exciting to be in a new society and a new environment with a foreign language and a different culture of doing things. You know, you have a lot of like very well-dressed, fancy-looking women who walk. You know, and they walk like 7 kilometers a day. And I'm like, no wonder I can't fit the same size jeans, because I don't, in Johannesburg, I don't walk the same amount. But at the same time, you know, there's a very beautiful, warming thing about South Africa, just in terms of the culture of the people and the way our society runs and our weather. And the spaces and the opportunities. I mean, you know, we can drive to Magaliesburg now and be like we're in Constantia, you know, or we can go to Harties and get on a boat like we are in Camps Bay. So, you know, I really appreciated my country, but the experience there opened my eyes a lot. I was fortunate enough to be to access the country at a top level because we had a joint arts and culture exchange of exhibitions of art. So some of the most vivid, most powerful memories that I have is having my speeches that I wrote for my boss, having my speeches recited in some of the most powerful buildings in the French government spaces. One of our projects was to light up the Eiffel Tower in the South African flag colors, and that was for all the world to see. You know, the Eiffel Tower is the #1 most visited tourist destination and tourist monument in the world over. So for me to be part of a project that put my country, my beautiful country, in the spotlight on one of the most visited things, visited places, is something that I'll always hold so dearly onto. In terms of the culture, I understood that I didn't realize how conservative South Africa really is. And that's not necessarily in a bad way or a good way, but it's just the way in which our culture is. I also think that a lot of young people in South Africa, as vivacious and, you know, as powerful as they are, I do believe that we have a lot more room to grow in terms of assimilating to how the economy works and assimilating to how group economy works. I don't think that as much as we are so politically inclined, we are equally economically inclined.
Yes.
And not understanding our powers in the ways in which we galvanize each other over certain issues. You know, that's something that I think as a society we have a lot more to grow in. And I think it comes with the age of democracy. So, you know, I do believe that it might be relevant for the time that we're in. So yeah.
Oh wow.
I would just listen.
Yeah.
Continue.
You touched on the issue of having a group economy, which is in South Africa especially, or maybe let me say in Africa, it has always been a problem where everybody wanna run their own race on their own. How much more do we have to emphasize on, working together? Because collaboration is quite very key. It's very important. I mean, you would find the places like France where you find restaurants and you will think, oh no, a lot of people, they just come together and say, you know what, let us put on this entire street, there'll be like a whole lot of restaurants that people, they group together and just build these smaller, businesses. And in nowadays, in this country, you can find 10 people selling potatoes here, and there, and they've never even thought of, let us come together and make a bigger space.
Absolutely.
And then now take the risk together. How much more can we emphasize, us as Africans working together in order to do things? Maybe I can also expand the question to the issue of including other African countries, because you find people, for an example, somebody who knows how to plait hair from Ghana comes here, instead of me looking and saying, I have a space, I have a garage in my house, I can actually partner with this person to open up my garage and allow this person to come in. Then we become partners, and then we can run the business. And rather, I'm going to wake up in the morning, bend down the house that belongs to this person and say, you are coming here to steal our jobs. How can we emphasize collaboration within ourselves?
I think we need a lot more education with financial literacy. So having a lot of money doesn't mean anything unless you use it the correct way.
Exactly.
We have different examples in society, even in the township society, where we see the potential is there, like the Stockvals, for instance. And again, it's women, anyways.
Of course.
Just by the way, and that type of thinking and mentality is something that comes from having to find a way to squeeze, to provide, and to build.
Yes.
And that's that's the work of collaboration through a lot of women.
Yes.
But if we have a society that understands the power of sharing, the power of compounding, the power of saving, then that's when we're going to have a lot more people being more receptive to the idea of not having instant gratification. Let's think, for instance, Chisanyamas, for instance.
Yes.
Thriving business. Something that is all around the country, even has now become part of our tourist destinations. Now, the biggest issue with Chisanyama, when you think of a Chisanyama owner, you think of a successful, possibly township business owner that you admire. And a lot of people in society, in the community, will look up to, rightfully so, and admire them.
Yes.
But then just ask one question about the distribution of the meat. They don't own abattoirs. They don't own the value chain. And I'm not saying that they are failing in terms of financial literacy because they've identified and run successful businesses, but it's about understanding how to take what you have and take that to the next level. That should mean that if I want the best butcher in town, I should be going to the township because of the power of Chisanyama in the economy and the demand of meat. The same thing with the demand of alcohol. There needs to be a specific body, there needs to be a certain representation, there needs to be equity taken by those who have the biggest market and who have the power to direct the market to these brands and to these products. So financial literacy is something that is so pertinent, so important, and that's precisely why I'm finding this journey with GrowVest so empowering, because what you're talking about by people coming together to bring money together to be able to acquire more and to share more.
Of course.
That's the same concept of private equity. You buy a business, you build the business, and you make money. The person who had the business initially also makes money. So I agree. I think that at a school level, financial literacy should happen. It should be there. I mean, I try my best, I try my best to have my kids do chores in the house and for them to get paid for that,
Yes.
and it starts on that level that, it needs to be something in practice to think, okay, well, if you get your brother to do the chores for you, maybe, you should then offer him a better price at you having to do a different chore you don't mind, and then at the end of the day, maybe you guys both put money together when you want a new PlayStation, because both of you will play for the PlayStation. So it's about breaking it down into levels that is understandable and on each and everybody's
Talking
I
of
society.
agree with you. I think that maybe this education system should actually start at a school level.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just from the ground, our children must be taught, how to run businesses
Yes.
and
Yeah.
financial literacy.
Yes.
So I think it will, will
Amazingly,
end up
I think you're touching on a very important point that our schools in South Africa, South African schools, don't really pay much attention to that, because I always make an example to say schools like French schools, they have, financial education as early as a 4-year-old child. They start from there.
Yeah.
Then you ask yourself as to what is really wrong with our, education system. I mean, a lot of people are talking about decolonizing our education system. So what is your take in that? Do you think that we need to really change our education system in order for us to be able to achieve more from, the grassroots?
Yes. In a short answer, I'll say yes. And if you'll indulge me in a long answer, I'll talk about how Silicon Valley billion-dollar companies such as Facebook, such as Google, they all believe that skills can be taught, but certain character traits and certain thought processes are innate in certain people, right? The same premise can be added when we look at having people in schools, young people in schools, and the education society, education system being designed to have that same premise, to say that we don't have to teach young African children in South Africa that A is for apple, because in terms of our culture, A is not for apple. We don't pronounce apple that way, and most likely our African language does not identify an apple as apple. So already you're trying to introduce to a child that apple is this fruit in isiZulu that is not apple or pronounced with an A. And second of all, on top of trying to translate what the name of a fruit is, we are now putting pronunciation that is of exactly European, so maybe it's American or a little bit British sounding, and that gets lost in translation. Whereas if we had education that was fitted to the context that we live in and to the context of society, that we then would be able to translate and to use as an example, that would be far more impactful.
Yes.
It's not necessarily that our children are struggling because they don't have the ability, because they have the ability, the same way these big companies recognize that for so long as someone has a certain type of degree or certain type of experience, they have a certain ability, and then we find ways to match their ability in a context that they understand. So for instance, someone who had a music degree who works in Google, this is a true story, a music degree in Google was able to take a position in coding. And the question was why? And the answer was because they understand intricate processes. They understand the practice and they understand the language. And they understand how something can be a discord and sometimes can be a chord. So I think it's about understanding what society has. It's like education through song.
Yes.
It's a lot more powerful.
Yes.
That's why you sing A, B, C, D in a song. Because a song is something that you can catch the tune. And then that helps you understand, oh yes, this is the next letter, this is the next sound, according to the song and the sound that I've now practiced and learned.
The likes of Elon Musk, sorry,
Yes.
they are saying that, a degree is not necessary. Skills are the necessity,
True.
not a degree. Elon Musk is always saying that, he's always saying that he would literally just hire somebody with the standard 2 and give them a CEO position in his business only if that person has the skills.
Yes.
What is your take on that?
My take is, let's look at Elon Musk as the individual that has built the career that he has reached. Elon Musk is someone to admire because he is a very, very accomplished, self-taught person. Someone like Elon Musk reads like 7 books, 8 books in a week. That person has to have a high drive and a high sense of obtaining knowledge and interpreting knowledge and innovating and having the lateral mind to be able to expand on that knowledge. Now, Elon Musk is, again, it's a unicorn example. I don't believe that you can have a drive at that level, or we can expect everybody to have a drive at that level without being exposed to a certain level or expectation of education. So Elon Musk didn't grow up with PlayStation in his bedroom. Elon Musk's story I've followed quite closely, grew up with a lot of books in his house. His father read a lot of books. And from that, he decided, and he saw, and he said to himself that I'll also immerse myself. And he, at a very young age, started reading, started self-teaching, started observing. So for him to say something like that, I believe him and I agree with him, but I don't necessarily think that that's something that can be a blanket statement, because because many of us, you know, for instance, one small thing, we'll eat dinner with the TV on. That's something that you shouldn't do. It's an ill discipline. So that's why we use the society, the school system in society, to help kids become interested by having kids being asked of a certain level of work, being asked of a certain level of output. And I think having a degree gives you that level of understanding how to apply yourself.
Yes.
How to address certain things and how to analyze certain things, which, yes, a lot of people who don't have degrees could very well have the possibility to do so. But that's not necessarily a guarantee if you don't have. I don't believe it's a throwaway. Because there's a certain discipline that comes into writing exams and assignments and collaborating with group members that don't necessarily have the same drive as you, and, you know, finding ways to navigate, you know, a school system that sometimes may not favor you, perhaps if you have the wrong looking name on a test paper. So yeah, so I think that it depends. It's for him, I would say so. And if you're an avid reader, I would say maybe you have a chance to be like Elon Musk. But, you know, a lot of us, we've seen in South Africa that the level of literacy is extremely low. And we need schools, you know, to build libraries, to have reading programs, and to have programs that inspire children to want to be great, that want to break the ceiling. That's never going to happen unless you have some kind of environment or example that teaches you how to do that.
Wow.
Nandi, just quickly, you know, before we wrap up,
yes,
I want to talk about, you know, the jazz epistles, you know. What did it take for you to write this book, and is it available now in bookstores, and how can we get, you know, a hold of it?
So you can follow me at iamqueen.nandi on Instagram. You can send me a DM on that, or you can email me.
DMs are open.
Business DMs. And or you can email me at hello@dominionv.com. So this has been a self-published book, and the reason, well, the journey of writing it was, by writing, first of all, the press release to announce that this concert was going to happen, I had to take one step back to understand the significance of this event and why people would be interested. That's why you write a press release. Now, after having written that, I realized that there was never a story written of the inception of the jazz epistles to the current date of their influence. And that's something that I looked for and I couldn't find. So I had to write it myself. And I hope that this sparks as well further research and further writing on the giants and kings of jazz and African jazz.
I'd like to have this, you know, this book.
Yes.
How much does it cost?
It goes for $250.
Oh, really? Only?
Yeah, well, you know, maybe you want to sponsor a few. No, I'm joking.
I actually could, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love, you know, for my cousins, my friends to have it. And I think it would also be nice, let me see, Sisanda, also as a gift.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
yeah, I think I know a lot of friends, you know, that love jazz. Well, I don't know if it's my age, but yeah, you know,
Yes.
most of my friends,
No,
you know.
for sure.
Yes.
I do for sure. Yeah,
I'd love
but
to
then
make you an
it would be
offer.
very nice to
Whoever
have
you,
it in.
you wish to gift it to, I'll give you an additional gift.
Oh,
one.
yeah, so one will be
Collaboration.
mine.
Yes.
Business collaboration in action.
Of course, of course. Yeah.
Let's get to do that. Yeah. Now, it's been quite a very great one, Sis Nandi. We thank you for joining us, and we must say you're such a great inspiration. We want you to continue doing what you're doing, and of course, I will take you up on that 100,000 story.
Okay.
We want to get onto it. That was our guest on the Green Couch, Nandi, speaking to us about a variety of things already. We started wanting to talk about the book, and we spoke about everything, but most importantly, how can we as women especially empower one another, support one another in building inclusive economy that does not discriminate, that does not look down at one another. And I think it's something that if we could continue working together, we can achieve that. We are going to take a very short break. When we're coming back, we've got more news and update for you right here on Pan African Mornings. Stay with us.